Now we are going to start our spotlight speaker section of our meeting today. Welcome Daniela Bunuaica from Romania with the languages not only Romanian and English, but also Spanish and French, right? Yeah, so many,
Right.
it's like, oh,
That's right. And you got my name right, which doesn't happen even with my Romanian friends. So thank you so much for that.
oh,
Hi,
wonderful. This
everyone.
is so great to hear. Yeah. And you are a conference interpreter and public service interpreter living in the UK. And this is also why you have great expertise in knowing how to become a certified translator and interpreter in the UK. And this is what you will give us today, right?
Correct, correct. So hi
Oh,
everyone. Really happy to meet all of you. I see some familiar faces, and for context, I met Sarah in, was it 2020, right? So during the
yes.
pandemic, so long time ago. So I used to be one of the yeah, just the group members at Sarah's interpreters practice group. So that was amazing. So yes, indeed, I'm a trained conference interpreter. I've worked in booth for many years, but recently, in the recent years since I've moved to the UK, I have actually become a sworn translator. So I was a sworn translator before, but I've just been focusing on translation only at the moment, and I'll tell you all about it in a few minutes. And I'm excited to join the group. I still feel that I'm, 90% an interpreter based on my education. And I'm very fond of the work that we all do in the UK. The interpreting job is very important, right? So we need interpreters at hospitals, at court, as we talked about. Solicitors and notaries need interpreters quite often, so it's a good place to be. So very interesting and very different from the conferences that I was attending before. So where is everybody based? I just wanted to get a good grasp. So Zaina, I guess you're in the UK, right?
I am, yes. I'm in northwest London,
Oh, excellent. I'm in
Hertfordshire.
Reading, so not
Okay.
too
Yeah,
not too
not too
far
far.
away.
Yeah.
Where is everybody else based?
Cambodia. I'm from Cambodia.
Where from in Cambodia?
Cambodia, I'm from Siem Reap province.
Oh, nice.
The province where there is a lot of temples,
Oh, wow,
like Angkor Wat.
amazing.
Yes.
I know Angkor Wat, yeah. Great. And then we have also Germany, Maria, hey, also from Germany, then Austria, Malaga, originally near Frankfurt.
I'm really from Bangkok.
Yeah,
Nice to meet everyone again. I mean,
yeah, nice to meet you
I
again,
just I
Lily.
just had a call interpreting this morning, and then a very good fight today. It's refreshing. And then afternoon, I just went to a get some Botox. You know, I need some more poker face. When you are in the
Where?
courtroom, your face has to be like a poker. Like a very
Yeah.
still, and nobody on your competitor can see what you feel, or you feel angry or you are happy or something like that. It's a very nice, good
That's an interesting
beauty and
strategy.
professional.
I love that, Lily. You look
Well,
amazing. I think we met
yes.
in 2020. You look the same, even better.
Oh.
So
Okay, nice to meet you.
you too. Cool. So let's get started. Sarah, would you like to kick us off with the small presentation that I prepared? So
Yes,
this will be
yes.
really informal. So just wanted to tell you about my journey, how I became a sworn translator, what I do in England, in the UK, and then we can open it up for questions, because I guess you might be interested in this, maybe doing translation aside as well, because everything is complementary nowadays, right? So we have to be flexible and just to stay on top of the market. Okay, shall we move to the next slide, Sarah, if you would be so
Yes,
kind?
sure. Let me just figure out. There,
Sure.
okay.
Perfect. Yeah, so just just a few things about me. I am a trained, professionally trained conference interpreter and translator. I have quite a long journey in school, in the educational side of things. So I obviously love languages. I've started studying French as my first language since I was 5, actually. So my aunt, she was a French teacher, and then I was really lucky to be in a few interesting private schools where I was learning French and English at the same time. So started really early, around 7 years old, and then I knew really early on that I wanted to be an interpreter and a translator. And fun fact, I don't know if I said this before to you, Sarah, but my first informal interpreting was when I was in like a, how to say, like in a public library where they were like broadcasting cartoons in French, and I was actually interpreting for a friend of mine. We were just sitting in the back row, and I was like telling him what the cartoon said. It was Jungle Book, actually, which is still my favorite one. So it was very funny. I was 10 probably back then. So that was that was a funny experience. But yeah, just, all jokes aside, I've always loved languages. I graduated from the University of Bucharest with a degree in French and Spanish conference interpreting and specialized translation. I studied in France as well, and then I continued with a master's and PhD studies in translation and in conference interpreting. And today, I live in England. I used to live in France as well. I worked there as a sworn translator. And since 2019, so at the end of 2019, I moved to England. And during 2020, I actually got sworn for English as well. So Sarah, you might remember, right? So I was studying for my exams, right? And I'll tell you all about it, how what the process is in Romania. And then I registered with the embassy a year later, or half a year later. And since then, I work with private individuals, so Romanian nationals and their family members who need sworn translation to be registered at different consulates. I work with them sometimes for interpreting if they need to go at different consulates and get registered for different types of documents. I work with solicitors, notaries, and companies. I don't do community interpreting or legal interpreting, so I don't go to court or to different hospitals because I don't have enough time. But I am planning to increase my team. So I currently work with a few translators, and we plan to expand our interpreting services. So if you know any Romanian interpreters based in the UK, let me know. I'm expanding my team this year. Shall we go to the next slide, and let me tell you what the process is to become a sworn translator in Romania, and then I can tell you also about the process in the UK. I know a few of you are based here, so you might know this already, but what services does a sworn translator or interpreter provide? We also call, so the difference between sworn and certified translator is that the sworn translator is a legal translator. So we are able to stamp and sign documents. It's pretty fun. So if you've ever, thought about stamping when you were a kid, so it's definitely very fun to stamp documents and sign them. It can be really time consuming, but it is a very rewarding experience to help people with their documents and being able to provide them physically. So we provide them both physically and electronically. So a sworn translator or interpreter provides obviously translation services for document registration through consulates, visa application for embassies, and any other type of hard copy documents. Generally, these are, for instance, birth certificates, marriage certificates, right? If you get married and if you need to change your name, or you get divorced, right, and you need to register your divorce at the consulate, or any type of sworn documentation. We also provide legal and medical translation for solicitors or notaries, I work with them quite a lot. So they have a lot of cases where private individuals are, either in a case, in a court case, or they might want to open a case file against, I don't know, a company, or something happened, right? And they need their legal and medical documents translated, and we can't just submit just a certified or regular translation. We need a sworn one. So we need a sworn translator to actually put the stamp and the signature on. As well as applications for different government entities. You might know, right, that the UK has left the European Union. So after Brexit, we need to get a visa or to apply for the settlement documents. So we need to submit sworn translation for any government body, so to say. So anything that has to do with legal, I would say legal or medical cases. It is very popular that I translate diplomas and school transcripts for them to be compared in the UK. So there is this specific body called NARIC, who is issuing a statement of comparability documents, meaning that they recognize your diplomas, the ones that have been issued outside of the UK, and they actually need the sworn translation to be submitted. So that's another example of a sworn translation type needed. Another service that I provide quite frequently, and this is mainly for document registration through consulates, is the Hague apostille, right? So if you've ever had to, register your document abroad, you have heard about the Hague apostille. It is applied on the documents in the issuing country. So for instance, for my diplomas, they had to be apostilled in Romania, right? Because in Romania, they were issued. And it's the same for documents issued in the UK. So the process is that if I get married, and I will actually get married at the end of June, so I need to get the apostille on my marriage certificate. Thank you. On my marriage certificate, yeah, it's been long in the making. I need to get the apostille on the back of my marriage certificate. It's just a special paper that gets applied to it with a special stamp, and then it will get translated and submitted at the consulate in person. And I guess it's the same process at all the consulates, which are, obviously not the UK, so all the other countries. And they're also used, obviously, if you travel abroad, or if you go to any other country, you would need the apostille. It certifies the validity of a document, the fact that it is indeed an original document. Let me just pause because I see a comment in the window. Let me see.
Yes, Lily says, in Singapore and Australia, apostille is used to stamp on the back of notarized documents.
Yes, so let me, that anticipated my next topic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lily, for asking that. The difference between an apostille and notarization. So the notary would notarize a document and say, hey, this is an original one. Then it would get translated, and then you would also get the apostille on top of it. So it's an additional process that is not needed for all the documents. For instance, diplomas are different. So diplomas or school transcripts need to get notarized first. So the solicitor comes and say, yes, this has been signed by the school or by this principal or by this director and so on. And then you would get the apostille on top of the notarization, actually. So notarization comes first and then the apostille. But for documents which are clearly issued by, let's say, the public registry, like the marriage certificates, it doesn't need to be notarized, right? So it can just bear the apostille. So the difference is that in the public records, you can't find the school director list, but you can find the public registrars. So they would be able to find them there. So that's the difference. And yes, some documents need to be notarized. And as I was saying, one of the the services that I provide is notarization. So I work with a few notary public offices. I don't do it myself. Yeah. So the apostille and the notarization need to be done by the legalization office and by notary public offices. Or solicitors can also issue notarizations for my customers. So I'm facilitating, let's say, the apostille and the notarization, followed by the sworn translation. And interpreting, yes, as I was mentioning, so I interpret for consulates. Mainly, we talk about power of attorney documents, right? So if you ever had to do something in another country and you couldn't do it, right? You couldn't go there by yourself. You would just give the power to someone else, right, to represent you. And that is when you need to be there in person. And if you're not, if you're not British, you need an interpreter as well, to be able to sign. Sworn interpreting for public services, yes, we do it in my team. So as I said, I have currently one interpreter who goes and interprets for our customers, and I will be expanding my team. Me personally, I won't be available to do court or community interpreting, just because, to be honest, between you and me, I really like converse interpreting, so I would really like to go back to it, right? So that's a different type of interpreting, as you know. So I'll just pause for questions. If you have any questions on the sworn translator or interpreter services, and then we can of course move on, and I'll tell you about the process of how to become one.
Yeah, I also just stopped the screen share so we can
I
each other
I
for
have
the
a
questions.
question. I have a
Rafaela,
question.
please.
Hi. What I understand that my question basically is that you say that we have to translate original documents, and I hear already that not necessarily you receive, as a translator, you don't receive the document in hands. So that's what I believe that what makes it important to have in notarized first, to be sure that it's a real document, because that is one challenge that we have is, before translating, we have to know that that document is real and is right, I think. So I think that my question is, we don't have to have the physical document in hands to do the translation, do we?
Yes and no, actually, and that's a really good question. Thank you for asking, Rafaela. So for everything that is needed for consulates, for embassies, you need hard copies, so to be able to register those. But all the other documents that get translated into English, yeah, like anything else that is translated into English, it can come in a PDF version. So for instance, diplomas, right, issued in Romania, I don't need them physically, so I can get the scan, and I would translate based on that. To be honest, I've never had a document that wasn't original, but yes, I have all the power to say, I don't know, this doesn't feel like this doesn't look like an original document. It never happens to me. We can question it for sure, but keep in mind that we as sworn translators, we are not there to check if the documents are original. So I always attach the original document to my translation, and it can be double checked, but I cannot, be responsible of whether a document is original or not. If not, it never happened to me. I think it only happened with a PDF that I saw it was manipulated. So I said that, looks to be manipulated, like the date was changed or something. But yeah, or sometimes I get like Word documents, personal documents that were maybe copy pasted into Word that I don't accept. So I only accept scans or PDFs. So of course we have all the freedom to say, we have to be a bit sensitive about it and about how we ask the question, but it generally doesn't happen. And yes, we can have both. It depends where do they go. In the UK, we're very flexible to receive electronic documents. So everything is electronically signed and stamped and so on. then whatever needs to go to a notary, to a public notary or to the consulate would need to be there as a hard copy. So they wouldn't accept electronic documents.
Right, but then if there is no danger for us to translate something without actually verifying, making sure that it is a real document that was not tampered with. So what exactly is the meaning of the apostille and the notarization before we translate?
Yeah, so the apostille and the notarization is required for documents that are issued in the UK and need to be registered in another country, like in Romania. So those are just for consulates. The other types of documents don't actually need an apostille unless that body, that government body, or I don't know, the school asks for it. To be honest, that's a very good question, because in the UK, we don't ask for the apostille. So everything that generally, even my school diplomas and everything, when I got them here, I got them with the apostille and with the notarization, but nobody asked me for that. So they were like, no, just give us the standard translation and that's it. So again, it's not, we would translate whatever documents the customer asks us to. Generally, the documents are scanned and you can see their originals.
I see.
So that never happened. It can happen, but then as a translator, you can't really refuse them. So you translate whatever the customer wants you to.
Understand. Thank you.
Sure.
My question
Lily,
is,
yes, please.
are you under the regulation of any professional association, or under the regulation of the government or something? Or if it is that case, you need to have a professional standard, right, to practice as a
Yes.
sworn translator. Is it a voluntary or mandatory standard?
Yeah, it's mandatory. Let's maybe go back to the presentation and let me walk you through the process of becoming a sworn interpreter and translator, because I think this is important. If we can just go
I think this
back.
might also ask Sarin's
So that is
question
mean-
in the chat.
Oh,
Looking for
sorry.
sworn translators. What do they mean by sworn? I think this will answer
Yeah,
it.
sworn is a legal term that means how to explain it? Good question. That you were sworn by, in Romania, we get sworn by the Ministry of Justice. So meaning that we actually pass an exam and we go there physically, and sworn that we will, translate and interpret the documents as per the original. So it's a quirky term, but it actually means that we're legal translators and recognized by the Ministry of Justice. And in the UK, and I'll explain this when we get back to the presentation, not all the countries have the same mechanism of getting translators sworn. Some don't. Like the UK doesn't. We have some professional bodies, the National Register of Public Service Interpreters, who would accept you to register with them if you have passed an interpreting exam. So let's maybe go back to the presentation so that I can explain it.
Yeah, that's me. Let me share
Easier
it
for
again.
everybody.
Yes.
And that's a very good question. So let's move to the next slide if you can, Sarah. Perfect.
Yeah.
That is
Okay.
amazing. Thank you so much. Let me move this to my next screen. Yeah, so as I was saying, every country has a state institution where translators and interpreters can become sworn, or they become legal translators and interpreters. In Romania, there's a process of passing 2 exams with the Ministry of Culture. So one English into Romanian and the other one Romanian into English. So you actually study a bunch of legal documents, which I was doing the year I met Sarah. So I was learning I was studying for that. And after you pass, you send your diplomas to the Ministry of Justice, and it's very similar in other countries as well, who will issue a certificate for you. So with this certificate, you can register at your embassy. So at your embassy, you actually will be on the official translators and interpreters list So this is the process for many countries. Like France has a similar process. When I was living in France, it was the same. The UK, and I'm very interested in your countries, how in the countries where you're from originally, if that's different. But in the UK, we do not have a system that is overseen by a legal entity, so we don't have a ministry that would oversee this. However, there are various institutions offering this public service interpreters course, or the translators track, which is called DeepTrans in the UK, right? So diploma in translation. It has different levels. You can go to various levels from level 3 to level 6 and become a certified interpreter, either a community interpreter, public service interpreting, or you get the highest level 6 in community interpreting, which is generally needed to apply and be visible on the National Public Register of Interpreters, right? So to be there, to be able to interpret for court, for hospitals, you need to be on that list and to be certified. And as for the translator track, there are a few options, but in the UK, there's no such term as a sworn interpreter. So the UK would accept any certified translator to do the translation. It is more for the rest of the world. I think they're more flexible. But for instance, if you would need to translate documents for the American embassy, they would require a sworn translator. So a certified translator would not be enough. So the difference being that the difference is that sworn means you have a legal entity certifying you, versus a certified translator would mean you have a diploma in translation. And there are different tracks as well. So you don't need to do these courses to become a certified translator. You can also do a bachelor's, right, or a master's in translation or interpreting, and then you can register with an official body, as you were asking, Lily, right? So you can register with the Chartered Institute of Linguists. You can register also with the Translators Association unit based on your diploma, but you need to have one. So there are just different options, right? So you can go, okay, I'll just study on my own, a short course, go from level 3 to level 6, or maybe I want to do the full 3 years BA, or 2 years or 1 year of master's. Does that answer the question? Okay, perfect. And yeah, if you have any other questions, I know that no, let's go back to the previous slide, because I think this is a lot to take in. This was very confusing to me at the beginning when I just came to the UK. I was like, how in the world are interpreters and translators certified here? What's the difference between the translators and interpreters working with translation agencies versus the rest, who can go and interpret in court, who can go interpret at a hospital, etc., etc., and of course everything that is conference interpreting. And I learned that it depends. So this is the answer that I got. It depends on your experience. It depends on the type of diplomas you have, and it depends on the need. For instance, not all the interpreters that I heard about or that I know are actually certified or registered or sworn, because the need is so big. In the UK, there are 1.2 million Romanian nationals officially living in the UK, probably even more, maybe 1.5 would be my lucky guess. So imagine the need. I don't think that on the agencies list, we only have certified interpreters, which is completely fine, right? And I think some agencies would also train interpreters, give them the chance to learn, the medical terms, which is fantastic. But for court, you need to be on that registered interpreters to be able to interpret it. It's very complicated, even for me. I mean, I don't know the court terms at all, so that's like a completely different track. So
Can I
Okay, I
just
will
quickly
just stop
ask a
the screen
question?
share. Yeah, for questions. Yeah, please.
for sure.
So you're saying here that anybody who's got a degree in translation or interpretation can kind of say or claim to be a sworn translator?
There is no such term in the UK as a sworn translator, because to be sworn, you need to be sworn by a Ministry of Justice.
Yeah.
Equivalent. So let's say that we are certified, not sworn.
And can you get a stamp, say, when you need to translate from Romanian into English, and to show that it is a certified version? Do you get a stamp from the Ministry of Justice, or you don't get it here?
Yes.
So you apply to get the stamp?
Yes, I applied to get the stamp after I got my exams. So
No, in the UK, I mean.
in the UK, there's no concept of a stamp, actually. So you can, the way that I sign my documents, so I sign them electronically.
Yeah.
There is a block of text that you have to put on to certify that the translation is accurate and it corresponds to the original. But I have my contact details listed there, and I have a different stamp that I'm using for the UK, because the other stamp is in Romanian. So I'm only using that for Romanian documents. So I have a different one, but I don't need to use it, Zaina. So I could just add my contact details, just add the link to the embassies list. So we don't actually need a stamp for the UK. So we can just electronically sign them. Better if you want, better, more simpler version for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So maybe just also for me to grasp it again. So if you have a degree in the UK,
Yep.
you can certify documents.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
If you have a degree, if you have a translation degree anywhere, right? Because I have a Romanian degree. I don't have I don't have a degree issued by any university in the UK. I've studied in Romania and in France. The process is that you need to register with CIOL or with the Translators Association or with the Interpreters Association anyway. So, and they would provide you, they have some special labels that you can actually put on the hard copies if you need to, or they have an electronic option. For sworn translators like me, it's not needed, right? Because I have my own stamp, so I don't need it. But they would just look at your file, right? Look at your diplomas, look at your experience. Maybe you passed the short-term courses, and they would decide if they want to receive you in the group, in the select group of certified translators and interpreters. And then that's it. You don't need anything else, Zaina. So you don't need that stamp. You just need to, one, have a degree, be part of a professional body, or get sworn in the country where you studied. So it gives you different options. But it's very interesting to consider, and I'm very curious if you thought about, because obviously you are doing mainly interpreting, same as I was doing, right, a long time ago. But have you considered actually doing certified translation as well, or are you also working as translators maybe for some agencies?
Actually, my initial background is master's in translation. By default, I become an interpreter. I later on studied to become an interpreter. So my initial first two degrees are in translation studies. So I was a sworn translator back home in Lebanon, but it's a totally different process, like you were saying, in Romania. So you get appointed by the Ministry of Justice. So you take, once you've got your qualifications, you apply to become a sworn translator or legal translator, and then you pass the exams, and then you get given a stamp, and this stamp and like a paper saying that now you are officially a Lebanese sworn translator, and you get to use the stamp on top of your signature for every paper that you do. But I cannot use it here. It's like no value here. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But the problem is there's no point for me using it here because it's got the Lebanese Republic, and it's no value here. So when I do a translation and they want it, as you said, illegal, I just write that this is a legal, true copy to the original, and I sign it. And of course, I'm a member of the National Register, CIOL, ITI, all these institutions.
Yeah. But do you work with the consulate as well? Do you work with the Lebanese consulate?
I do, yes, I do. Yeah.
And then you use your stamp, I guess, right?
Exactly. So if I need papers to go to Lebanon, then you would need to stamp them and have them certified.
Got it.
The same like you, but here they rarely use the stamps, or it's much simpler, I think.
Yeah, and it's very
less
challenging.
Bureaucracy.
If I may say that before we take the next question, and I see that there are a few comments in the chat window. It's very challenging, to be honest. For me, it's mind-blowing because all my Romanian translator and interpreters friends, they're all sworn and certified. When I came to the UK, I was thinking, what's happening? Is like wild west here. Like anybody can do translation. So it's very difficult to work with agencies, and I think that's the reason why the rate is so low by, per page or per hour as well for interpreting. It's very challenging, very, very challenging. I find it difficult because there is no reason, for them to pay you more if they have all the other pool of interpreters and translators available.
Yeah, it's interesting. What you said, but the crucial additional step is to have a certain a degree in translation, is to be registered with one of those professional bodies, right? Or even if you have additionally the DPSI, you still need to probably be registered with the Chartered Institute of Linguists, right? It's not enough to just say I have a degree, even in the UK, and the DPSI. Yeah. You still need to have this professional bodies.
For sure. And I have to say, I haven't, so I recently registered with CIOL, and I haven't registered with an RPSI because, I don't have enough time. I'm afraid to show up on the registry and for people to contact me and refuse them. So it's on the other side of the conversation, but it's preferred for you because people can find you easily. People can, see that you're certified, that you're sworn, so you'll show up online, but also to be able to interpret for court, for, just to have broader reach, it's better for you to be registered, but you don't need to. There are agencies who are willing to work with you if you are experienced, which I think it's completely fine because you need to gather that experience, right? So you need to decide for yourself if that's the track that you want to follow. And yeah, most of the times they would just accept that you have enough experience. So it's not needed. I would say it's more like a freelancer career experience where you get your customers and you want to make sure that they contact you versus you work with agencies where it's more, challenging on the financial side of things, but it's a good start. So I would say any of the tracks is a good start for anyone who wants to do interpreting and translation in the UK.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm asking for from a personal experience because I actually have a UK degree in interpreting and translation, a master's, and I have the UK DPSI, and but now I'm based in Germany, and I had an inquiry to get a document translated for my partner, and the inquiry was they want it certified, and I think I could not do it because they wanted a certified translator based on the CIO, it's Chartered Institute of Linguists, I think. Yeah. And so they require this registration with a professional body. So maybe also depends on the client then what their requirements are.
Yeah, but how's the process in Germany? Do you have this sworn translator?
Yes, yeah, and I will, yes, yeah. Maybe it's so Maria can step in as well with me, and I also know the comments in the chat. We will come to them as well. So yes, so in Germany actually it was reformed not long ago. Here maybe Maria can help me because also a fun fact about me, I used to be sworn and certified in Germany, but it used to be different from each federal state. So Germany has 16 federal states, and each of the federal states had their own you can say, requirements of how to get certified. And in the federal state that I got certified in, they made it valid for 5 years. And then I moved into a different federal state, and the 5 years passed and expired, and I didn't renew it because I was now in the other federal state. Yeah, so, and now, maybe, I don't know, Maria, if you know, it got reformed, and I think it's more unified now. But we definitely have physical stamps still. So I also had the physical stamp. I had to print everything out and stamp it and everything. But yeah, and now it's more unified. But this is all I can say. I think now it should be unified for all of Germany. Yeah, but for now, I also had not missed not being certified anymore. So this is why for now I have not undertaken any efforts to get certified under this new reform. Maria, do you know anything about it? Or?
Kind of. So you have to, I think it's similar to Romania because you have to have some qualification to get certified with your degree directly as an interpreter or translator. You need to have, I think, completed a university degree with 6 years, I think. No, not 6 years, but like 7 semesters or something like that. And then you hand in all your documents. The documents have to be certified, and then you get like I think once or twice a year, at least here in the state I'm living in, it's twice a year. They summon you, and then you get sworn in. You present your stamp, and everything gets registered. If you do not have a university degree, you can pass an exam, but for all I ever heard is that it's really, really difficult, even for someone who studied the degree in another country and then comes here and wants to sit the exam. It's like almost impossible. They make the bar like really, really high. But yeah, so I think they changed the law, and that meant that everyone lost their certification or their stamp and had to like reapply because they wanted to unify all the requirements throughout all the provinces. So yeah.
Yeah, and I also remember, and maybe this is also under these strict requirements now, that you had to prove your capacity of the legal language in each language. And luckily, when I did it, I had 2 or so law courses in my bachelor's degree even, and they got recognized. So if you're studying and you take legal courses, make sure you take those legal courses that you require for being certified, because then you don't have to take the exam on the legal language, which made it so much easier, because I think this is really also the difficult part. Yeah, thank you, Maria, for sharing. And we had a few comments in the chat. I think Lily, you wrote something. If you also want to unmute.
I have an experience. A couple months ago, there's a guy in Singapore contacted me and then asking if I have a certification from ATA. I said, I don't have a certification from ATA, but in Thailand, we have our association who, under the Ministry of Interior, can provide the certification for our certified interpreter and translator, and that's very surprising because the ATA is not in America there are a lot of bodies who manage and responsible for this, but it's like voluntary standard. It's not a mandatory, and I think it's like a preferred, because I read from the chat, they say preferred and needed. Yeah, that's 2 keywords are very important, and mostly that I heard from our business partner is like they preferred or something like that, And one more thing, I have a friend in Germany. She's also a sworn translator. She said she has to sworn before the court, and she will get some kind of certificate, something like that, with her. And every time that she will provide the official translation or sworn translation, she need to do a copy of this certificate and attach, and then certify true copy or something like that. So we have different way or practical thing, but I can see what happening.
Yeah, I think those are also two different routes. So you can and have to be certified for interpreting and for translation, but those are like two different routes. You have to do both. You cannot do one and then are certified for both. I think, yeah, in Germany. And regarding the interpreting certification for public service or court interpreting, there's also then I don't know, the rule then that actually you can get a letter from the court, and then you as interpreter would also be like summoned. So you would really need to have a reason why you cannot attend and interpret on that day. I don't know how that is in the UK or Romania, Daniela. Is it like
It's
for
the
court
same in
interpreting?
Romania, yeah.
Because you said you
But
don't do court interpreting, but if you are certified in the UK, but now we have understood that it's
I'm
different in
not
the UK.
registered as an interpreter in the UK for the reasons that I mentioned, because I honestly don't have time to go to court or to hospitals, and because I'm also trying to put my translation agency owner hat, and try to
you can already earn
to
million
get.
from translation already. You don't need to go.
Yes. I have enough work from a translation point of view. But that's a completely different track. In my experience, you can't mix both. It's too much. You can't be a court interpreter, community interpreter, do sworn translation as well. I think it's a bit much. So you have to kind of choose your battles to do that. And you're right, Sarah. If you get registered with a court, they would summon you. So they would request you to come and interpret there, so it can be quite intense as well. But again, there are interpreters who do only that, so that's their job. As long as you're not trying to mix everything, I think that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a personal question of what route do you personally want to go, right? Conference interpreting, court interpreting, certified translations, and all the other fields that exist. So absolutely, and then focus on
Yeah,
what you
and
want.
if I can just tell you something. So I was at the CIAL's so Chartered Institute of Linguists conference in March, right? And we talked about how 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 is it going nowadays with work and so on. It's always good to have options, right? So as Sarah said, so we kind of became sworn translators first, but then we moved to interpreting. It's always good to know that, hey, I can do certified translation or sworn translation if I need to. So if I can give you a piece of advice, would be don't discard it, right? So just have it in the back of your mind, and if things get rough or complicated, you can always do translation, and translation has become more and more needed nowadays, because we will always need document registration, but there are more and more people traveling around. With the pandemic, more and more people have changed countries, they changed jobs, they changed continents and so on. So it's a good thing to keep in the back of your minds. And also with ChatGPT, right? With ChatGPT coming strong on board, the effect is the opposite, that we need actually specialized translators. So if you don't, particularly like the legal field, there is still a big opportunity to come in and work with translation agencies in the medical field, in localization. I see lots of job postings everywhere. So just saying, and I'm curious if you're doing translation aside, or if you're considering this track, just wanted to shed a bit of light into what's happening nowadays.
Yes, two very important pieces of advice that you mentioned. So first of all, for everybody that is afraid of AI, you heard it, the effect can even be the opposite, and I totally agree. Translators are needed, and in certain fields even more than ever. And exactly, undergo the effort to become certified maybe once, because as a certified translator, as we said, there you don't have this kind of catch where you're summoned anywhere and you have to go or whatever, because with certified translations, you simply have it in the back of your pocket, let's say. You can take it out as a skill when you want it, when you need it, and do certified translations if you have a dry spell or whatever, and you simply have it, right? So that's very, very useful. Is there anything else in the chat that we want to address here on the floor? Please unmute and speak up, because now there's quite some activity. I cannot keep
Can
up.
I share
Otherwise, we are.
about the
Yeah,
Can I
Lily?
share about the AI that I just chat with my colleagues, my office, because the act, the regulation in Thailand that in the future will be given the benefit to those who graduate in degree in foreign languages to be certified translator. So that's a lot of lawyers in my company are very furious because I have been doing the translation for many years, but why the regulation don't consider us as an interpreter? I said, your work is fine as long as you don't just cut and paste the word and then you know what I mean, right? Lawyers are very good. I don't know if any law there are any lawyer in this room, but this is true in Thailand. Lawyers remember the what is it, legalese or some kind of legal terms are very good, better than students from languages, but they tend to put in word forward like this, like Google Translate. So when we have a professional association, we said we need to do better than that to be certified translator.
Yes,
For example, like we need to draft the what is it? We need to translate it and try to make it read like very natural. And there's some cohesion between the paragraph and the coherence between 2 or 3 paragraphs together. Can you do that? If you can do that, then we have no problem, to get you in the certification system in Thailand. And lawyers cannot do that. They just
okay.
what is
Yes,
it? They
I
just
see.
put the word together and then say, okay, it's
Yeah.
readable. We understand what you need. Why do you need some beautiful artistic or something like that, And this is the issue that we discussed.
I
Why
see,
we
but yeah.
we
But very
need
good that you make clear to the lawyers that your profession, our profession, is also still needed.
yeah, because it's different,
So
right? We know that you do translation. We also do translation, but it's different in the
yes, yeah.
of the the text, the
Of
what
course,
is
it's
it?
not enough to just copy and paste. You need a better
Exactly.
understanding of it, and that's why
But if
lawyers still need
you said you rely
translators.
on GPT-01 or 40 something, right? Now is
Yeah.
really famous here now, and we are like, oh my goodness, and everyone can be a translator, and how can we distinguish or make it a difference between the translator using AI and you don't understand the context, but we are the very very traditional translator who understand and read the context thoroughly. How can we make it in that?
Yeah, to verify also the content that
how
it's still true, right? So there still needs a human. You still need a human being to verify it, at least the ChatGPT's output, because ChatGPT will not say I don't know. It will hallucinate, and it might give you wrong information. So in that respect, we have to be careful with it. Despite it being super helpful, I also find ChatGPT super helpful. But guys, it's already over the hour. You are so engaged and active. So Daniela, your presentation, wonderful. Thank you so much. But I also don't want to hold you any longer and be very mindful of your time too.
Can we just present the last slide? Because I have my contact details there. So if you ever have any questions, really, I mean, I've passed through all the possible stages of, going from interpreting to, translation to interpreting again. So please don't hesitate and contact me and ask me any questions.
Take a screenshot, guys. Yeah, take a screenshot. Maybe that's the most useful if you want. Yeah, super. I connect with Daniela exactly here.
Perfect.
On Instagram here.
To answer the last comment from Sarah, and that's a very good point, right? So to what we were saying about,
Can you repeat the point? Sorry.
Oh yes, of course.
Sarah is very interesting point. Yeah, that's true, because we have some kind of problem like this in Thailand as well. even you pass the test.
Wait, Linky, Lily, sorry, let me just read out the comment.
Okay.
I think you're talking about the following. On LinkedIn, many translation companies are looking for interpreters or translators. They have their own requirements, such as application process, acceptance or rejection, watch series of videos, and answer quizzes. If an interpreter passes this kind of hiring process, is he or she considered a certified translator or interpreter or not?
Yeah, so
example.
not. The answer is no. You have to be
There is no
certified either by, as I said, a legal body,
third
you need to
party,
pass,
something like that.
or you need to pass an exam and then to get registered, right, with one of the official bodies, such as CIOL or the Association of Translators or
Professional
Interpreters.
association.
But
yeah.
good news is that you don't need to. So going back to my comment, there are translation agencies who would give you the opportunity to prove that you have amazing language skills, right? And they give you the opportunity to get assignments, and then you get more experience. And the more experience you get, then you can consider getting certified, but you don't need to. Some translation agencies don't need you to do that. There is a lot of remote interpreting, right? Assignments that are posted nowadays. We have lots of translation or post editing, right? So lots of post editing, which means that it has been machine translated, but they need a translator to review it, which is different from a revision, because a revision or proofreading means you have a human translator doing the translation, and then you come and edit it, right? Then you come and proofread it. But it's fine. It's just another type of translation or just another type of interpreting. So what I would say is it depends who you work with, right? So if you work with the official bodies, with official legal entities, then yes, consider getting certified or sworn if you can. If not, you don't need to. There's enough work for everybody.
Great. I hope that answered your question, Sarin. If not, let us know. Thank you, Daniela. Very, very helpful. And is there any last final comment by anybody else? Otherwise, we will wrap up. I have to shoot soon as well to log on for an interpreting assignment at the top of the next hour. So yeah, anything else? And if not, we can all thank you, Daniela. Applause, applause. It was really, really helpful. And this all of this information, and really interesting to exchange how this process is different in different countries, right? So, and
My
like we
pleasure.
always like to say, it depends, huh?
Exactly, it depends. My pleasure. And you know, I'm going back to conference interpreting. So very soon, Sarah, I'll be part of the group as well.
Oh, wonderful. Can't wait. Yeah. Okay, I think we have no further questions or comments. So have a great rest of your day and see you again next Wednesday for our next topic-related session.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. So nice to see everyone. Thanks so much for making time. Bye.